In this episode, I interviewed Josh from Microsoft Australia to discuss ISV opportunities. To review the show notes for this episode, please go to nz365guy.com/43. I'd like to thank the generous contributions from our sponsor, iNorgic. Maplytics by iNorgic is a market-leading certified for Microsoft Dynamics 365 geoanalytical mapping app. Maplytics empowers users with powerful map visualization and routing capabilities within Dynamics CRM to drive better sales, improved business processes, and engage right customers at the right time. Maplytics now works with Dynamics 365 version 9.0 and Dynamics 365 app for mobile and tablets. iNorgic is a leading Microsoft Gold Dynamics CRM ISV, delivering best-in-class Dynamics 365 solutions, as well as cost-effective and high-quality programming services. Hi everyone, I'm here with Josh Burgess to discuss ISV opportunities available through the Microsoft Partner Network. Josh has over 10 years consulting experience in pre- and post-sales engagements, working on business solutions that utilize Microsoft technologies such as Dynamics CRM or 365, SharePoint, and custom.NET. Specialising in strategic business processes, re-engineering for revenue growth, Josh is also a Microsoft certified professional currently working for Microsoft as a partner technical architect in customer engagement in Microsoft Sydney, Australia, my old stomping ground for the past 4 or 5 years. Josh, hey, it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, for having us. Yeah, really appreciate you reaching out, and hopefully we'll have some good discussions today.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so Josh, tell us a bit about how you came to work at Microsoft. How did you get into Dynamics, and what are you up to these days?
Yeah, thanks. So, basically I've worked in many roles. So I started out as a developer working on SI projects on CRM 3.0. So the happy days there. So progressing that into a combination of integration projects into ASP.NET, sort of web-based quoting engines and things like that. And from that, I sort of moved in towards BA, business analysis, consulting roles. It was in that role for about 2 years. And then from there into pre-sales consulting, did about 4 years pre-sale consulting in SIs. And from that, we sort of got to the point where we were building our own IP. So that's kind of where I got into the whole world of building IP on the platform, really going deep in terms of XRM, the capabilities. And so far at Microsoft, basically joined Microsoft as a TSP and then moved into a PTS role. And recently, now I'm sitting as a PTA, partner technical architect.
Right. So just to get this right, so you started off, you're in partner side and you're actually developing IP, etc., on what we used to call XRM platform and turning that into IP. And now in Microsoft, are you now working with ISVs and helping them on their journey in that respect?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a story there. So a lot of the partners that we work with are traditional SIs, and it's kind of looking at their journey in terms of where they sit within the market and how Microsoft engages at that industry level. And really, we're now identifying their expertise, specifically in industry, and it's more so that the SI really becomes that tip of the spear in terms of their industry knowledge in market, specifically around Dynamics. And Dynamics is quite unique in terms of you really own the business process, the core business process, and you connect multiple parts of the technology essentially into that business process. So from machine learning to data analytics through to the CDS flow, it all comes together within that core business process.
Yeah. So what are you seeing in the partner community around, how are you seeing partners where, they kind of need to have coaching to get them to turn, something they've been working on maybe for years into a piece of IP and then, take that further to market?
Yeah, there's generally a bit of confusion. The confusion is generally around AppSource, the process to list on AppSource, also the architecture of the solution. I think a lot of people assume that just because you've deployed some IP at a customer, you can basically take that solution, stick it on AppSource, and then you've got an instant ISV. But it's really looking at the market. And I think majority of the market doesn't want an overcomplicated solution. They want something that is refined, easy to use, simple, has high value, has low setup cost and investment. So essentially something where you can get up and running within weeks is not overcomplicated in that retrospect.
Yeah. Okay. So what's the opportunity for ISVs to build on the Microsoft Power Platform and Dynamics 365?
Well, it's kind of interesting where we're sitting now, and this is the developments which are based off essentially Power Apps, and specifically the Power Apps P2 plan. So up until now, a lot of partners have been positioning ISV IP with team members, the team member SKU as a platform SKU. So it's kind of good because it's identified that that's an option for Dynamics 365, but more so it's highlighted the opportunity as selling XRM as a platform, essentially, similar to Force.com. And for example, Salesforce, they've got $1 billion business just on Force.com. So that's quite a unique opportunity now to have that Power Apps P2 platform, more so pure XRM play. So I guess the opportunity there is anywhere where you've deployed with a customer and you have not used a lot of the core entities or very basic use of the core entities, it's really examining that in detail and saying, well, this probably could have been a Power App or a P2 Power App, essentially.
Yeah. Interesting. So are you seeing more ISVs creating solutions that will fit with that P2 SKU? So in other words, like no dependency on the first party apps or very little, and really building out kind of totally unique solutions on the Power Platform?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's now, I think that perfect time, like the likes of like seeing ADV and Simple both going down that platform play on P2. Also to the custom control framework. The sky's really the limit in terms of what you can build now. So it's really exciting. And I think too, with the ISV embed pricing linked to the direct CSP, you've now more so got that licensing model, which in turn gives you that revenue opportunity by selling the SKU as a direct CSP. There's quite good margin there. And it's kind of challenging thinking for your traditional SI who've only ever really been traditionally concerned about the services revenue. Now it's that annuity revenue, which Microsoft are very much for, but driving that through that platform, that Power Apps P2 with the ISV embed licensing. And it's really going big, looking where you've got huge markets like education, where there's a lot of schools, or hospitals, a lot of hospitals. And I think it's kind of like, well, you go into those industries and you might still have those green screens, or you might have an old Access application, which traditionally might have been XRM plays, but kind of they mightn't have had the budget. But holistically, if you look at that, the opportunity across, say, like 1,000 schools or 1,000 hospitals, if you can crack that business process and build something which is elegant, easy to deploy, is fun to use, has good business process, has ties into other systems through Flow and whatnot, you kind of on a winner there.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. You've mentioned education and you've mentioned, the health or, hospital sector. Where are the other gaps you're seeing that are kind of open to ISVs to really jump into the market?
Yeah, I think like local government, specifically councils,
Yep.
have kind of sort of lagged a little behind in terms of digital transformation. And I think they've kind of looked at Dynamics 365 as a platform over time, been very impressed by the feature set, and it more also got caught up in a massive IT discussion. And like looking at how councils operate, they're very similar in terms of their business process, in terms of how they interact with their ratepayers. But definitely that whole front-end business process could definitely be managed on a single Power App. And then it's kind of the intro into like the property and ratings side of things. So rates, which is more or less an ERP play. And I think that the likes of Business Central come into play, finance and operations, CDS, definitely see that as a lead-in. And as an ISV, if they could go in saying this is 100% tailored it's had 5-10 iterations and feedback in terms of best process, you're kind of edging into that market adoption. And if you kind of look at the way that the market adopts technology, the initial 5% who adopt the technology are generally the innovators. And then you have like the 95% of the market kind of follow each other. So you have what's called the technology chasm, where you've got to cross that. So the innovators are fairly reluctant to want to champion the technology just because they want to have their strategic position in market by innovating, by the nature they're innovating to be different from the rest of the market. So they kind of want to, if they're onto something good, they'll keep that a bit of a secret. Then you kind of got the next 95% of the market who tend to follow each other. So you got the early majority and the majority. So the early majority could be about 40%. And then you got the late majority who follow the early majority. But to get there, you need to cross that chasm. And it's very interesting in terms of how technology adoption happens. Specifically, if you look at like the iPhone, like version 1, version 2, version 3, it wasn't really until 4 or 5 that you got the majority of the market share. And that's hard work getting there. And I think that's kind of where you sort of see the ISV, they have to push through. They have to push through to get that 50% market adoption. And then the rest of the market generally follows what the first 50% does. And that's kind of what we're trying to do now, is kind of look at the market, look what the market opportunity is, and then push through and get that first 50% of the market.
Yeah. So good. Listen, one of the challenges I've noticed with partners, and this is, let's say, the traditional SI partner, is that they uncover some IP, or they believe they've got a solution that could benefit, if you like, multiple customers that, and it might have been born out of a project. And they're like, okay, now we're going to become an ISV. But they don't do any structural changes in their business. They'll go, listen, we'll use bench resources and we'll use bench resources to work on this ISV and polish it out. But because, if you like, you're, with an ISV product, you're really investing, right? You're burning dev cycles to build something that's not been sold or not already sold. What's your advice to partners to kind of rejig their businesses if they're going to get serious about creating ISV solutions?
So I think this is fundamentally what has to happen with SIs. It's kind of seeing this as a startup, as having a separate P&L. It's acknowledging that you can't do everything at once, but it's more so structuring it as a business where you prioritize the new features or what you do to the IP to get that next customer. And the thing is, time's on your side here. And I think realizing that once you get that first couple of customers and that annuity revenue, putting a certain slice of that, like 25, 30% into dev hours or dev cycles, and be able to say, well, we're investing here, we're going to put a slice of revenue into that new feature, but we know that new feature is going to allow us to get that next customer, and more so running this as a business in a sense where you only work on features that make sense in terms of the business objective. And that is to grow the business effectively through customer acquisition. And by doing that, you then grow your revenue stream. So you could suddenly go, it almost should be exponential in terms of customer acquisition, investment in the solution, additional features, to the point where you get that really robust product and that really robust annuity revenue. I know the likes of like Power Objects, those guys through the add-ons they've built, they do annuity revenue like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's a lot of cash. And like sitting on that cash flow, you can do a lot of good stuff with that type of revenue just coming in the door. And you're not dependent on the next project. It's like, well, we get this for doing nothing. Let's really do some cool stuff and take that to market.
Yeah. So I take it also that, you've mentioned their go-to-market. The go-to-market method or strategies used by an SI is quite different than an ISV. What are you seeing works well from a go-to-market, where, your marketing, your sales methodology are going to be quite different from an ISV to an SI?
Yeah, I think generally you're more so marketing product and product outcomes. So generally less detailed features of the technology, which is generally different. And I think people who come from a Dynamics background, you generally want to have a discussion regarding the outcomes that the platform can provide, or back that up with case studies. But definitely ISV conversation should be targeting not directly at IT. It's more the owner of the business, of the customer, saying, we know your industry so well, we know it inside out, we've actually invested in, and the thing is, it's part of the process really creates the value in the product, is that you've actually thought about that industry and that market, and you've gone, well, there's a lot of stuff you can do. And the thing is, every business is in the same situation where you've got to make a rational thought in terms of that feature and the return on that feature. So that whole process is what every organization needs to go through anyway. It's just that you've got that tight and constrained revenue inflow, which dictates on what you can do. And that builds that product up in that way that it's all about the value due to those constraints.
Excellent. So if an ISV wants to, initially get involved with Microsoft, what type of partner programs are there available for the ISV with Microsoft?
So through the One Commercial Partner business, we are recruiting. So we've got active recruiters. They're recruiting partners to become ISVs. So you don't have to be a Microsoft SI. Basically, anyone who could have stuff built on .NET, could be a competitive platform, are all welcome to get in touch and have a conversation about your ideas and understanding of the industry and the platform, not just Dynamics 365, but also Power Apps, especially Power Apps P2.
Yeah. So is there a specific partner program now that their competency is probably the word I'm looking for, that they can channel into?
Yeah, so there's an ISV certification that basically involves getting listed on AppSource as a starting point, just basically as a pre-qualifier. And this traditionally is more around Azure type apps, but more so it's leading into the Power Apps P2 and the Dynamics as a platform. And I think majority of the Dynamics partners have understood this, specifically like your ERP partners. Like you look at Nav or Business Central, there are like hundreds and hundreds of ISVs out there that have been very successful in market.
Yeah, exactly. So how does Microsoft partner with ISVs in either helping them go to market, or what are the options there for partnering with Microsoft?
So we partner at all levels, from the initial build with phase. So we assist you with architecture, support services, workshopping, understand the technology, getting you connected with the product teams, creating that really rich, innovative environment to basically build in. We've also got go-to-market services where we can assist with looking at your website, your go-to-market strategy, your SEO as well, making sure that all things are sweet there. And then there's also the sell with. So basically it's making sure that you have the correct connections within Microsoft as well, and the industry teams internally to Microsoft. So it's about pushing that through the funnel and then going wide. And there's lots of options there, potentially going through a disti. So it could be an indirect CSP, getting you connected there, or it could be the various segments within Microsoft, getting them across your solution and championing your solution with conversations with customers.
Yeah. So let's talk about AppSource for a little bit. How important is AppSource to Microsoft from let's say a Microsoft salesperson is engaging with a customer and the customer talks about problem ABC? Is it common then for a Microsoft salesperson to, jump into AppSource and search, is there a partner out there that already has that solution?
Yeah, no, definitely. AppSource is a great place. We do know there's thousands of customers searching that daily for apps, specifically in the functions that it offers. So you can basically, you do a free trial, you can have a test drive, even like a light option is contact me. So basically it gets you out there, and it's a global marketplace essentially. But it's more so for lead gen activities. There's no way at this point in time to transact directly from AppSource. So it's more so getting your IP out there. What we've sort of seen over time is a generic vanilla trial is great for someone who has an IT background. They're evaluating features. They want to see a vanilla product with data in it. But if you're in education, for example, and you're interested in a student management system and you're not specifically in IT, you might be someone who has an admin function. You're going to want to see something which resonates with your knowledge of the industry. And so a direct trial might be the best, but if you go to AppSource and do a search on education or health and you do a custom trial, could be, for example, a test drive, you're going to get something which has that look and feel, branding, it has the tribal lingo that's going to make sense to you. So that's why it's so important to be listed on AppSource, is basically it pushes your IP out there and makes it very accessible.
Yeah. So on AppSource, there's 4 levels of listing your product. There's a free trial, there's get it now, there's test drive, and there's contact me. So I take it, what's your perception on, if the ISV is going to get really serious, should they ultimately be looking at putting the test drive option, as in putting their product on as a test drive, which means it's deployed to a sandbox environment, or it's still production of their solution, but it's fully data loaded. You can provide a document that says, hey, look, step yourself through this scenario and step yourself through that scenario, where as opposed to the free trial means that you're going to fundamentally install the app from the get-go into your system. Might be time limited, but the risk is that you're going to add something into your live environment. You wouldn't recommend it. You'd go into your own sandbox instance. So what are you seeing work well? The test drive more than the free trial? And I assume the lowest end of the kind of engagement system would be contact me, and really comes down to your efficiency and follow-up.
Yeah, well, I actually really like the test drive. I think most demos of software, someone will log into it, they'll have a play around for 20 minutes, they'll get a good feel of it, and then chances are they're not going to log into it again. They'll want to speak to someone. So generally an hour is enough. Again, you've got to look at who you're targeting. It's going to be sort of the line of business manager. Might not be someone who's particularly IT savvy. It might be. But the test drive experience, I think, is really well thought out, that you get an hour to have a play, and then off the back of that you actually get the lead or the customer's details that pops into your internal CRM. So if you've got your business process set up correctly internally in your sales processes, you should be able to give them a call within a couple hours, ask them what they thought, find out a little bit more about why they're interested in that solution, what are they currently on to date, and sort of qualify that and then explore that as an opportunity. So it's a channel that hasn't traditionally been there, and I think definitely it's a great one to have up. And it's not, in terms of investment, basically getting something up there, it does take a little bit of time, but then it's 24/7 lead gen, which you kind of wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah. So can you step us through that process to get listed on AppSource?
Yes, so basically you go to the AppSource site, and there's a link there at the top that says list on AppSource. And if you scroll right down on that page, you'll see a couple of PDFs there which will go through a little bit about the process in terms of the different listings. And then right at the bottom there's a link. If you click on that, you basically fill out a form. So it basically identifies where your solution will sit in terms of what it's built on, and specifically your contact details. And that will go off. There's a whole team out there who curate this. So they'll get your submission, you upload a solution, and then basically that solution goes through a lot of checks. So they're quite stringent in terms of what they let through, making sure that we have quality solutions listed. So they'll check through any plugins or any fetch XML type queries and things that you've written, making sure that it's optimized essentially for the online experience. But it does on average take a few goes to get approved. I think the average is like about 6 to 8 goes to get it listed.
Wow. Okay, so what are we looking at time commitment then for that ISV? Is it weeks? Is it months? If it's that many kind of cycles?
Yeah, it's gonna depend on the complexity of your solution, and that's why I'm kind of thinking of if you're just taking a piece of IP that you've got, and if it's rather large, it's going to obviously take a lot of time for it to be reviewed. So potentially looking at that minimal viable product or that data structure with a couple of core business processes as a starting point. And then over time, you can then add to that. And that could be based on customer feedback in terms of what additional features are actually needed versus what you think that the customer wants.
Yeah. And so one of those steps there is your need to basically have to support your product, to have a link in to offer support for your product. So it's important, I say, for the ISV not just to have their product, etc., put up there, but that they've got these, if you like, the surrounding infrastructure to, one, sell a solution over and over again, and two, support a solution for the long term. Would that be right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree there. It sort of links more to that direct CSP type engagement where you own the customer. And the thing is, it's your IP, you know how it works. So you're going to know how to fix the issues that potentially might pop up. And you can do that with versioning, through solutions. But more so, that could even be part of how you sell it is you include support. So you take the base price under the ISV embed. It's quite a big discount there. Then you put a layer of IP revenue, and then you do a layer of support revenue. And then you can dictate what that support is in terms of response times. But as a direct CSP, you need to basically provide 24/7 support anyway.
Yeah. And when you say provide support, is that purely just an email address, or is it something more sophisticated like a ticketing system?
Yeah, it's generally preferred that you have your own ticketing system so you can manage to a certain amount of SLAs. But specifically, it's more so making sure that you can service those customers in a way that they'd expect, and that you don't lose those tickets, or it's not just an email address somewhere, for example.
Okay. So with the new ISV competency that's come out, you're saying if you get approved and listed on AppSource, you get silver ISV competency, is that right? You could go through and achieve that?
Yes. Yep. So that's where it starts, silver, and then into the gold competency. And
right.
there's additional benefits which come with gold.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. And when it comes to, the ISV embed, do you need to be in the One Commercial Partner program to achieve that type of status? And what's involved in getting the ability to sell ISV embed licensing?
So the main prerequisite there is that you are listed on AppSource. So you have to be listed on AppSource. So again, listing on AppSource also gets you certified, gets your app certified for Dynamics. So that's quite a prestigious position to have your IP at. And then there's a number of internal processes to basically go through, get all the boxes ticked. And then you also need to be a direct CSP. And there's a bit of a process there to have those SKUs, which are different SKUs enabled for ISV embed.
Right. Okay. And so what other resources should, if there's ISVs listening on the call and they're going, hey, I want to ramp up here, where should we be steering them for things to read, who to engage with in their various countries, etc., to really get those or to get, established?
I think definitely reach out to your Microsoft partner contact. If you don't have one, reach out to Microsoft and request to be recruited, and they'll review what you've done or what you see as a business opportunity. And then based on that assessment, what sort of value you think you could have in market or impact to the market, potentially you'll get assigned a PDM, and the PDM will essentially take you through this process. And there's quite detailed partner plays that will take you through this journey to get listed, to become a direct CSP. But it's kind of the ones who are successful. It's not a simple or easy process. It's kind of, you have to really want it and you have to be determined. But it's kind of the ones that sort of see the market opportunity, generally the ones that make it through.
Yeah. What's a PDM?
Partner Development Manager.
Partner Development Manager. So basically in each geography, there should be these individuals that are contactable and that you could have these discussions with.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there's a whole team of them sit in the ISV space and the SI space as well. If you're an SI, then you should basically have one assigned or know how to get in contact with one or to be recruited.
Yeah. So apart from Power Objects, have you seen any other system integrators that have, transitioned well into the independent software vendor and then coexist?
Yeah, I think it's sort of still fairly early days for the majority of the SIs. I think they're kind of addicted, as I said before, to that service revenue and that service revenue model. And they're kind of starting to get it through CSP, the annuity. But then again, it's the challenge, as you said before, is how do you have developers or consultants sitting there on the bench contributing to a product which you don't really know what the market is. And it's really those first 10 customers that are going to be difficult to get or challenging to get that then open the market up. And it's kind of like the more customers you get, the easier it is to run the business type attitude, because then you've got more annuity revenue, you've got more budget to invest in features. So I'm not saying that it's easy to get through those initial couple of customers, but I guess it's probably understanding the market more so and the market opportunity where you sort of engage with the customer and then realize, well, hang on, there's a lot more to this industry than just this one-off customer. And the thing is, your customers potentially can refer you to other customers, whether in a potentially non-compete situation. And it's kind of then the best lead you can get is a referral of a happy customer. And that sort of links into the whole CRM selling. You're going to keep your customers happy, they give you more leads, and then you grow it through that. So it's kind of, I think all Dynamics partners know how to set up a business with Dynamics, because it's them looking at that specifically around their own products, less so than specific services.
Yeah. What advice can you give to ISVs looking to partner with Microsoft?
I think have a clear understanding of what you see the market is for the ISV, specifically customer size, industry. I think understand what you see the selling process to date and have an opinion that you may or not need to refine this, but open to refine this over time. And also realize too that it's going to take a little bit of time for your name, your brand, your product to get out in the market. And more so have a good plan in play, like a 3-year plan in terms of expectations of customer ads, activities that you'd want to do from month to month, give gets. So if we get this product listed on AppSource, we as a business invest this amount of dollars in terms of SEO and marketing. Can Microsoft match that? If we get these 10 customer ads this year, can we potentially look at running an event at Microsoft? Can you introduce us into specific segment leads? Can we then get their sellers across the product and championing the product? If we get double the customers next year, can we do this as an expanded form around the country? It's kind of like a give-get relationship with Microsoft, but I guess it's kind of a business partnership after all. But I don't think you can start this journey expecting that Microsoft are just going to hand you leads. I think it's very much you have to do the work to identify the market and also work with us on the strategy. And there's a lot of stuff out there. I'm not saying that it's going to be sort of all you as a partner. Microsoft are very much there, and we've got the programs, we've got the people. It's just that it's a little bit of complexity there that we have the people in place to overcome, that's all.
Yeah, good. What recommendations do you have for ISVs to really take their product to market besides AppSource? So they've got listed on AppSource and everything. You've talked about a bit about SEO, getting their website right, that type of thing. But, the concept they'll build it and they'll come is really, not the case. And I think there needs to be a lot more consideration, if you like, put into marketing the product and really building that marketing engine. What's your advice there to ISVs?
So Neuro Impact and Mark Stutz has done a lot of thought leadership in this space regarding...
Who is that?
Mark Stutz is a Canadian guy from Neuro Impact. So go to his site. He's got a lot of good content. I'd recommend any time you see... He speaks at most partner conferences, but he really gets the way that customers perceive solutions in the tech industry. So for example, you go to a website, you don't want to see a list of features. Features are generally orientated towards the IT buyer. You have to see that the classic IT buyer isn't potentially going to be the person who's the decision maker. It's going to be the business owner, the line of business who goes, I just want someone who understands the challenges we have in this industry and has thought about a solution. So it's kind of having a good understanding of that tribal knowledge. So not coming off as over techie or specifically vanilla or horizontal. But in saying that, there is opportunity to go horizontal. So if you have look at the Power Objects, have done a lot of specific solutions and widgets where they see a need. But more so, I think it's the opportunity to go deep and wide in a specific industry and really own the vision for that industry. I think it's very much taking that thought leadership in that industry and then building a product in a way which captures that investment and continuing on that track to pull in technology and innovation that Microsoft create that complements your vision for that industry and its transformation, and working out how to do it effectively at scale across different customer sizes from SMB to enterprise size customers, and still making money off it, of course.
Yeah. Interesting. Are there any new kind of programs or pushes from Microsoft in the next 12 to 18, 24 months to really develop this ISV ecosystem, particularly now with the more and more, it's been said around the Microsoft Power Platform?
Yeah, I tell you what, there's a lot of investment happening in the partner channel, both from a technology perspective. So this is global. Each subsidiary has resources, including myself, that can help with that discussion and also advise on the process and also the market opportunity, which is probably a bit more important to understand, to go after. But there's a lot of, it's kind of, right now we're playing catch up in terms of digesting what partners have created, but also realigning that internally in terms of the sales processes specifically to Microsoft. And it's getting a lot of momentum. It's really exciting. It's really exciting to actually see. I think traditionally looking at Microsoft coming in, if not 3 years ago, being more product selling centric, now it's done a full 180. And it's kind of amazing to think an organization the size of Microsoft can literally maneuver so quickly and agile in a way which kind of makes us more solution focused. But in saying that, it's really the partner last mile IP leading the way here. But it's very exciting to see.
Yeah, awesome. Josh, before we get on to some quick fire questions, anything you want to add?
I just want to say that definitely it's like looking at Dynamics, like I've been working with the product for 10 plus years and seeing the success that customers have had, and then looking at the market and the way that different organizations adopt technology and transform. I just think it's kind of like there's a lot of things which have lined up now. I think the licensing model, CSP, is really getting mature now. Like the partner center, the admin tools, it's the embed programs as well. It's the AppSource, and also there's a big strategic vision around AppSource as kind of the starting point to a bigger consolidation of marketplaces, which is also very exciting. So I think kind of we're teetering on the edge to a massive scale digital transformation based off biz apps. And I think kind of if you look at where we're sort of sitting in a global economic sense, it's kind of time now for like lean, agile business processes to come in play for businesses to look at efficient ways they can reinvent their business and be ultra efficient over their competitors in terms of the way they operate. And that's just a massive opportunity for partners. And I think even now, you go into a lot of majority of businesses out there, they're all operating off spreadsheets, sending weird business processes through emails. that they've thought up. And it's kind of like that kind of needs to sort of retire. I think Microsoft have been extremely successful dominating the Office with email and Office. And I think that success has also been, it's like a double-edged sword. We've had success in terms of the modern Office, but now you're kind of seeing the different platforms coming through with Teams, and now you're kind of seeing the mainstream of ERP and through Business Central and finance operations, but more so customer engagement and integration and the common data service, but more so the Power Apps and Flow angle as well, which basically makes it a very rich tool set. But the trick is, I think for partners, is making that simple and easy for customers to get off email in terms of using email as a business process, to get off spreadsheets as the manager of the business process, and to think, there is an easier way, there is a better way, there is a more efficient way. And you're kind of seeing that with the likes of Heathrow Airport with Power Apps or Canvas apps, where it's a beautiful story that someone who started off handling baggage, left school at 16, sort of stumbled upon Power Apps, and now he's created like 30 or 40 Power Apps, and now he's like the chief innovation officer at his organization. And now that's sort of the starting point then to go into P2 Power Apps and Dynamics 365 into advanced workloads to the first party apps. So I kind of think that the accessibility of Power Apps, and I think it's taken a while for them to think, like there's always been a bit of a bridge required to get off Office onto Dynamics. And I think Power Apps will be that bridge that bridges the two worlds of Office 365 customers, where there are millions and millions and millions, and then you got Dynamics 365, which is more of that mature business process. So I think it's a very exciting time, and I think that IP, partner-led IP, is going to be what accelerates it in market. That's my prediction.
Excellent. A lot of opportunity ahead. It's exciting times.
Yeah.
Great. So let's hit some quick-fire questions. What books or blogs, podcasts do you recommend most to people, and why? Now, these don't need to be about Dynamics specifically. It could be anything in life, but go for it.
So, blogs and things. So, CRM Tip of the Day, Steve Mordrew. I love his blogs. A really good detail, and he's got a really good, deep understanding in terms of market. And I see him as one of the initial innovators. Specifically, he's built himself his own CRM on a Power App on the P2. And I think that's amazing for him to go out and do that and get that in market. So, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. What's your favorite app and why? And so, if we were to grab your phone and look at battery utilization, which app is chewing the most of your time?
I guess I probably spent a bit of time on LinkedIn app and Elevate, which are two good apps that I focus on. So what's
Elevate? What's Elevate?
So Elevate's it's a LinkedIn app, but we can use this to schedule posts and share content. So
Gotcha.
One that we use quite a bit.
Awesome. Do you have any kind of daily rituals that kind of set you up for a path of success?
I think it's kind of prioritization. I think it's very much, and this is probably one of the better things at Microsoft that I like, is you get to focus on things which you find interesting. So, and that's probably the luxury that I have. There's so much stuff out there going on. Like literally, there's more stuff out there than I have time in the day to focus on. But it's really trying to make sense of what's going on in the economy. How does that relate? Where do you sort of see IT and business and economics headed in the next 10 years? So I'm a very deep follower of the economics behind things. So very much detailed analysis of, it might seem a bit boring, but I think economics is really interesting. I think if you look at fiscal policy, I think if you look at wars, I think if you look at what's going on politically, and if you study industrial revolutions that have taken place over the centuries, there's a lot of interesting things going on, which I think you can sort of tie that into the fourth industrial revolution, and you can kind of connect the dots. And I think it's very exciting, definitely, to sort of see things evolving and accelerate, I must say.
Yeah, awesome. What's the best purchase you've made under $100?
That's a good question. I don't know where you're getting these from. I'd have to say these days you can get yourself a 4GX hotspot for under $100. I think that gets you a lot. It's a hotspot. It actually gets you out a lot of a hotspot. So where you don't have good connectivity, or tethering to your phone, I think definitely that's probably the most crucial thing to have. And most places you can get them for under $100.
Yeah, awesome. Josh, who do you recommend as a guest in a future podcast?
I'd say I'd like to get, I don't know if Steve Mordrew's been on your show, but I'd love to get him on he's an MVP. I'd get him on the show. That would be awesome.
He will love that you've said that.
Yes.
He will love that. He's asked to come on, so.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. We'll get him on board. In fact, we've got that scheduled. Josh, it's been fantastic to have you on the show. You've shared a lot of insights there that I think will help a bunch of people get established on the ISV side of things. Before you go, if people want to kind of connect with you online, where can they find you?
Message me on LinkedIn, Josh Burgess, based in Sydney, and my LinkedIn address is JRB430 as my ID.
Awesome.
Yep, so thanks, Mark, for having us. It's been a pleasure, and really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. Can I get you to do me a favour? Producing these podcasts takes a lot of effort, and the podcast can only be successful if you, the community, are getting value from it. If you value the show, can you please take a minute to leave a review on iTunes? You can go to nz365guy.com/iTunes. I'd really appreciate it. For full show notes to discuss anything covered on the show, please go to nz365guy.com/43. Bye for now.